So I've just opened today's mail and yes, we have a speeding fine, but it's not my speeding fine. It's from one of my guests on the Turo platform, so hiring a car. They were hiring the car and they're being caught speeding. And there's a few things that I think I'm going to learn and a few things that might help you if you're hiring your car on Turo or Uber Car Share or have your own hire. Want to start your own hire platform. But so someone has been caught driving a car 115 Ks in a 100K zone is going to cost you $464 and 3 demerit points. Now, I haven't lost points for 20 odd years. I'm one of those people who just get lucky. Of course, we all speed at certain times when you're overtaking or whatever, and I just haven't been caught. So this person has been caught while they've been hiring the vehicle. Now, the first thing I did, because one thing I've learned with Turo is if you don't do everything by the Turo book, there's a high chance that they won't accept it. So the first thing I did was reach out to Turo and said, hey, this is the situation. One of the people hiring the car has been caught speeding. What do I do? And then they detailed out exactly what to do. And then I've gone through and done everything that they've suggested. So one of the things was confirming, getting Turo to commit to say that that person is liable for it. And then once I've got Turo written saying that they're going to be, that the actual guest is liable for it, which also means Turo is liable for it. So they've taken all liability off me from a legal standpoint, which is nice. They've confirmed that the guest was hiring the car. It was during the time that they had the vehicle as well. One of the things is, from my benefit also is that there's communication in the messages to say when the guest was dropping it off. Otherwise, I guess they could argue and say, I dropped it off early, it wasn't me driving. There's a few things they could do. So I guess when it comes to this stuff, when you're hiring to other people, having everything on record is highly essential. Whether it's communicating, whether it's making sure, send a text message or a message half an hour before the drop-off to confirm the drop-off time. And these are little things that I really wouldn't have thought of until these situations come along. Now, one of the things that I didn't really think of is, what about international drivers? People who don't have Australian licenses but are here on international. Well, I can tell you, the person who hired my car is American and they're no longer in Australia. And this is something I haven't had to deal with before. So I'm guessing that because they wouldn't have demerit points, I don't know. But they would just pay a higher fine and that would go to Queensland Transport to sort out. So I do wonder then if by me putting a United States address with a USA number and license number, etc. I've never had to do that before, and I don't know how that process works. So interesting to see what's going to happen with that. I'll keep you posted. But a couple of things I thought is that, so when you first start hiring a car, you first start hiring on Turo, you don't really think about these things. You don't really think about things that may pop up or worst case scenarios. And so the first thing you do is you always have a spare car or your second car's not being used as much, and you then hire it out. But all these things are in your personal name. And when that happens, you accept personal liability if things go wrong or if things aren't done correctly. Like in this instance, if things don't go well and they don't accept that he was the driver, then that's personally my responsibility. And I'll wear those points and I'll wear that fine, which I don't want to be doing. So I think there's two things when it comes to hiring your cars. If you're just purely a side hustle and you want to get some extra cash, just be aware that these things are going to happen. It's inevitable. So prepare yourself and make sure that you're doing things to prepare for these situations, whether that's communicating correctly, taking extra 10 photos and photos of pickups and drop-off times and loading absolutely everything to make sure that you are going to be safe when it comes to something like this. And then secondly is if you do get a first car, and like myself, you go, hey, this is working pretty well, let's get another one, then you probably should set them up in a company if you have a spare entity set up. Most people don't, I know. But you can set up an ABN under $1,000. You can do it properly through an accountant, and you can set it up under $1,000. You can then transfer the ownership of these cars into the company name and the ABN, and that ABN will then have its own Queensland Transport number. And then what would happen then, instead of 3 demerit points and a small fine, instead of getting 464 and 3 points, you'd probably get $1,500 and 0 points. It becomes a higher dollar amount. So that then becomes, so then there's no personal liability as such. You're not going to, so there was 4 of these come in the mail today, I'd lose 12 points and lose my license, and that's not good if none of these got passed on and I took full responsibility. So that's the only thing I'm thinking, which if you're doing long-term rental and you're growing a fleet, you want to be in a company name anyway. So it's just something a bit to think of. Yeah, so a couple of learnings. Just make sure that you're documenting everything. Document everything. If you think you need it, take a photo, take a message, take a screenshot, take everything. Because I've been caught a couple of times on different things now. And then upload trip photos for everything. If it's a receipt, put it in trip photos. So Turo is absolutely committed to doing everything through trip photos. If it's not in trip photos, they won't accept it. So make sure you take a photo of everything, upload it. This infringement notice, I've taken a photo of it and put it up there as well. So there's full records of everything. Now for your hassle, Turo will also pay you $40 for the hassle of having to deal with an infringement notice. So yeah, so a couple of things to learn from there. If you do want to create a long-standing business and make this a real fully fledged business with 20, 30, 50 cars, set up a company early to avoid having a personal liability when it comes to these things. So I hope it helps. I know it's a bit of a video on the fly, but I thought it was important to let you know about these things, and hopefully you get some learning out of it, and you can prosper in your Turo business.